Welcome back to World Crisis Radio. A couple of quick international notes. Berlusconi in Italy under heavy attack by Anglo-American destabilization apparatus, helped on, of course, by Assange and WikiLeaks. The peroxide Pied Piper strikes again with stuff against Berlusconi, right? The Berlusconi-Putin relation, probably the number one strategic target of the U.S. In the world, maybe, certainly in Europe. So we have now the Ruby affair, the accusation that Berlusconi paid a prostitute who was, at that time, a minor. It's been about 100 probes. What we'd have to say is, in Italy, the invisible government, which here works very largely in the intelligence agencies, the federal agencies, in Italy, there's a very prominent role played by the judges, right, the investigating magistrates, and so forth, especially the ones in Milan, as distinct from Rome. And they have been the ones leading this attack, the so-called clean hands guys, the guys who destroyed the entire party system of the country in the early 1990s, just when Italy could have reasserted some kind of national independence after the end of the Cold War. They could have said, and some of them did say, now Yalta's over, we want to be an independent country again. No, said the Anglo-Americans, and destroyed the existing parties, and they've really never come back. The political parties of the PCI, the DC, and even the PSI of pre-1992, never reconstructed. So Berlusconi had a vote of confidence in the parliament this week. Not only did he survive, but he won it by a bigger margin than in the previous vote of confidence in the middle of December. So this is an Anglo-American destabilization helped along by WikiLeaks. A poll, Ipsos, says 13% of Italians think that Berlusconi will fall over this issue. So they're not too worried about it. The Vatican says they're troubled by the charges. That's fine. Remember, one warning we've had over the years is that when the current Pope Benedict XVI came in, there was a big influx of American priests into the Vatican. So watch out for their influence in the Secretariat of State on Tarcísio Bertone, the Vatican Secretary of State. So let's also look. Seymour Hersh says that there's a fundamentalist Christian network in the U.S. military who regard themselves as crusaders. Quite plausible. Take a look at my book, 9/11 Synthetic Terror, Made in USA. You'll see the story of Albion Knight, of Oliver North and the charismatic Episcopalian Anglicans, and indeed the general going back to Operation Garden Plot in the 60s and 70s. All of them somehow hooked into fundamentalist religious things. Watch for British intelligence being one of the key players in that. Now, in terms of program, we've been highlighting. Last week we highlighted the role of the Export-Import Bank in those locomotives for Pakistan that are going to be built in Erie, Pennsylvania. We were talking about the problems of the canals on the Monongahela River. Here, a little bit closer to home, a new report in the Washington, D.C. area, we find that the roads and bridges of the national capital are collapsing. And let's get some statistics. The roads in the District of Columbia, this is now roads, are rated 61% are either poor or mediocre. And you can see this right in front of the main federal buildings, lousy roads. So almost two-thirds of the roads in the District of Columbia, poor to mediocre. The bridges in Maryland and Virginia, 26% of the bridges are either structurally deficient or functionally obsolete, too old, do not meet the current standards. This is now the Washington Examiner, reactionary but interesting article. In the District of Columbia, 61% of the bridges are either structurally deficient or functionally obsolete. This means that in the capital of the United States, this great exceptional operation we've got going, 61% of the roads and the bridges are poor, mediocre on the roads, structurally deficient, functionally obsolete for the bridges. So what they do then is they say, we're going to lower the weight limits, we're going to have vehicle restrictions increased and so forth. 2 years ago, pieces of concrete began to fall in Virginia off the Glebe Road Bridge over Arlington Boulevard in Arlington County. Now, these areas are some of the richest in the United States. By the time you get down to Fairfax, maybe the richest, or Loudoun. Maryland fixed 19 bridges in 2009, but then 9 more were declared structurally deficient in the same year. So this is the problem. Wilson Boulevard in Rosslyn, right across from, you take the Key Bridge from Georgetown, and then you're pretty much on Wilson Boulevard in Arlington, Virginia. All of this stuff is collapsing. What is the true number for the U.S. infrastructure deficit? 10 trillion is a good first guess. 15 trillion. That would be to restore what was. And if you wanted to say, to bring it up to date for the 21st century, where we now are, and we're practically in the second decade, it's going to take more than 15 trillion. It might take 20, 25 trillion, or who knows how much. So this is the kind of thing that we should be talking about. You want to have a Sputnik too, it's fine, but don't tell us about infotech and IT and how computers and Google now with its shakeup at the top of the firm, they're going to do it. By the way, just Goldman Sachs very embarrassed by the fact that they told their clients they were going to sell them shares in Facebook, and then they're told that they can't do it. And Goldman also smarting from the fact that their earnings were down 52% in the last quarter of 2010. The smart guys in the room, maybe not so smart. Remember, in Wall Street, genius equals a rising market. Instead of putting money into building this infrastructure, what's the reactionary position? The reactionaries, and this is an op-ed in the Wall Street Journal of this week, they want to have states go bankrupt. They say, well, we've got to have a way for states to go bankrupt. That's the answer after all. And then they say, well, this is obviously a way that we can then destroy the social safety net in the various states. What they don't seem to realize is that if you have municipal bonds, they say, we would, of course, protect the bondholders. The citizens of the state be damned, and the bondholders would be protected. If you do this, you're going to have municipal bonds, that are going to be defaulted on by cities and counties and other jurisdictions, maybe by the states themselves, which will then destroy the U.S. banking system for a second time and guarantee what they would call a double dip, what I would call simply a new downturn into the depression where you already are. And we have Senator Pat Toomey, ultra-reactionary Republican, now representing Pennsylvania. Right? That's the statistics I've given you for the roads in Maryland and Virginia are bad. The statistics for the roads in Pennsylvania are going to be much, much worse. Let me tell you. Senator Toomey says what we should be doing now is we're going to essentially have the current appropriations bill, the current appropriations law, the continuing resolution to fund the U.S. government is going to run out on the 4th of March. So not the Ides of March, but the 4th of March. It's been thought that the existing debt ceiling is going to be reached between the end of March, May 16th at the very latest. What Toomey is saying is, let's have a situation where we pass a law that the bondholders get paid first, and the citizens of the United States, be it Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, unemployment benefits, or anything else, contractors too, everybody else gets paid later. So essentially, Toomey wants to say the needs of cosmopolitan international finance capital, globalized parasitical elites, take precedence over the general welfare of the United States. Sorry, Toomey, take your reactionary claptrap back to your cave. I think it's called the Club for Growth. Let's start calling it the Club for Economic Immiseration. And we'll see you next week on World Crisis Radio.